constitutional structure, as the president is democratically accountable to the people. Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, I appreciate your commitment to working in the public interest. Let me start off with Mr. Kratsios. In your role as director of OSTP, you'll be responsible for working with various advisory bodies, the President's Council on Advisors in Science and Technology, PCAST, the National Science and Technology Council. Obviously, I am on Maslow's hierarchy of science, a geologist is near the bottom. But I am a scientist, have published peer-reviewed research, and I think it's important that we make sure that science remains impartial, objective, and nonpartisan. So we need to make sure that our scientific enterprise is examined and re-examined and continues to be modified to be more successful in those essential needs of our country. If you're confirmed, how do you commit to, or can you commit to, ensuring OSTP works with the scientific community's voice, that the scientific community is fairly represented and their voice is truly uplifted?
Yeah, I thank you for bringing that up. I think, to me, one of the most important goals that I even mentioned in my opening statement was to ensure that the team that we build at OSTP is representative of a wide variety of scientists and technologists that support the important policy priorities of the president. So in any administration, OSTP starts with very few people on the team, and the next year is spent finding the best scientists and technologists from across your agency to bring into the White House to work with the agency. So I commit to doing that, and I think it's critically important that any policy process that is around the White House is informed by high-quality, sound science, and that is something I look forward to bringing to bear on what we do at the White House. Great.
Well, that's something we will support you on as it gets complicated, as I'm sure it will. Mr. Metter, a national privacy law would require a great amount of oversight to be able to hold businesses accountable. Sometimes these are very large businesses with immense capability. State attorneys general have experienced investigative teams that cover a range of consumer protection laws. Do you believe it's appropriate for state AGs to help the FTC enforce a federal privacy law, especially if that federal law preempts state laws? So why or why not?
Thank you, Senator. I believe that's ultimately a decision for Congress to make at the time that it would pass a federal privacy law to put structures in there governing coordination with state AGs. I can say that on the antitrust side of FTC, there's been very productive relationships between state AGs and the FTC. And so hopefully, should Congress give the agency additional powers in that area, we would see equally productive relationships there.
Right. In terms of recognizing the immense power of these very large companies and what we've seen with the social platforms and in many cases the lack of any ability of government to curtail some of the things we recognize, or I mean some of the deep fake pornography, that's one example that comes up. How do you think we should be looking at AI on that within that same context of being able to get the market to have some balance?
Yes, that's an incredibly important topic that I think is only going to increase in prominence in the coming years. I think the first step is to view it through the lens of our existing enforcement authorities. So the FTC has the ability to police unfair and deceptive practices, and we know that AI is already being used to turbocharge many of those acts. And so it will be incumbent upon the FTC to keep a close eye on that activity to make sure we're not letting anything slip through the cracks. And should we become aware of something that we're not able to address with existing authorities, to consult with you and other members of the committee to make sure that that's resolved.
Great. And then the last thing, we talked a little bit in our office about the importance of markets being balanced, and how sometimes it's government, sometimes it's private industry, but everybody's trying to distort markets when it's to their advantage. Last week, FTC Chair Ferguson announced the agency will maintain the 2023 joint merger guidelines with the DOJ, with the Department of Justice. And these guidelines the guidelines outline the criteria for the FTC to consider as it looks at mergers and acquisitions. You know, a lot of these decisions have direct effect on the markets themselves. How can the FTC ensure we maintain fair competition in markets as we keep a forward-looking vision?
That's a great question. I really enjoyed our conversation. I thought you made several excellent points about the need to balance the prevention of anti-competitive conduct with not going too far to burdening markets with too much intervention. And I think that has to remain at the forefront of every enforcement decision that the FTC takes, looking to ensure that they're actually improving the lives of consumers when they do act, but not going so far as to micromanage the economy in any area.
I appreciate that. I yield back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Young.
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations to our nominees. I'm very excited about your service and doing some good together. Mr. Kratsios, thanks for taking some time to visit with me a number of days ago. And in that meeting, we discussed the critical importance of emerging technologies to our national security